The difference between Bible translations. Good morning, good afternoon, guys. We're gonna have a discussion about different Bible translations and why I choose the Bible translations I do. Again, I have always been told you gotta watch what Bible translation you have or use because some of them take the meaning out of the verses, like the three I use, but the main one I use is the KJV. The three I use is the KJV, NIV, and the NLT, and those are the only ones I use. The main one I use is the KJV. The reason for that is it's the one everyone I assume grew up with. And not only is it the one everyone grew up with, it's a classic version, and it's the closest we can get to old times. Unless you want to go with the Geneva Bibles and the Greek and Hebrew translations, yes. But I have always been told that you have to watch which ones you go with because they take out or change to the translations. Now, I'm not dissing any translation of the Bible. I think they're great. It's just that I do read the English Bibles, yes, which the only one I prefer reading is the NIV. Now, I know that there's the NKJV, but the NKJV takes out all the nuances of the Bible and tries to modernize it for modern times. But that's not the Bible. If you take the nuance of the Bible, which is the poetry, the words, and the pronunciation, in my hypothesis anyway. But the reason I use the KJV is because I've been told you gotta watch what translations you use. Now, I'm not dissing anybody's translation. I think any translation, if you can get your hands on the Bible, is amazing. It's just that with the fam, we always joke that any of the translations, are Bibles for dummies. Because the KJV for some people is difficult to understand. Oh, I get that, yes. But again, you have to be wary of what translation you use because some of them take out the meaning of the words of the verses and stuff. Now, I know that there's talks about the King James Version does that too. Now, maybe yes, because the oldest Bible we can get to where King James first came up with it would be the 1611, But I looked into those, and they are facsimiles, or reprints, and they are pretty pricey. I guess it depends which one you want when it comes to those. But again, you have to be sure into which one you use. But we'll swing over to other half of the video that I'm going to produce here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to use Genesis 1 through 3 to make my point here. With the three versions I used to show you what I mean. So, give me a second here. Fix my head. Yeah. Give me a second. And we'll swing over to what I'm talking about here, and I'll show you. And I'll see you after the video.
In my intro video, I explained why I use certain Bible translations. Now let us dive into one of my favorite passages, Genesis 1 through 3, and look at it in three translations I use: the King James Version, the New International Version, and the New Living Translation. I'll read each one exactly as it appears, and then we'll talk about what those differences mean. King James Version, KJV. In the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. 2. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. 3. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. The KJV uses heaven, singular, and the phrase without form and void. Its older English carries tradition, reverence, and poetic cadence. This is my main Bible because of its depth and historical weight, even if the language takes more effort to unpack. New International Version, NIV. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. 2. Now the earth was formless and empty, darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. 3. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Before God saw that the light. The NIV updates the language: heavens, plural, formless and empty and hovering. These changes make the text clearer for modern readers. It shows how translators adjust wording for accessibility while keeping the meaning intact. New Living Translation, NLT. In the beginning, God made from nothing the heavens and the earth. And 2. The earth was an empty waste, and darkness was over the deep waters, and the Spirit of God was moving over the top of the waters. 3. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. 4. God saw that the light was good. He divided the light from the darkness. 5. Then God called the light day, and he called the darkness night. There was evening and there was morning, one day. The NLT adds "made from nothing," which interprets the doctrine of creation out of nothing. Empty waste is stronger wording than formless and empty. This version is designed for clarity and accessibility, but it shows how translators sometimes include explanation directly in the text. On other translations, like NKJV, now, I know some people use the New King James Version, and that's okay. I'm not here to put down any Bible. If you can get a Bible, that's already a blessing. But translations do change the way the words come across. The NKJV, for example, takes the King James and puts it into straight English. In doing that, it removes some of the poetry and cadence that makes the KJV so powerful. The meaning is still there, but the nuance, the rhythm, the weight of the older language can feel different. That's why I personally stick with the KJV, the NIV, and the NLT. Those are the furthest I'll go with translations. Each one has its own way of presenting the word. The KJV with tradition and reverence, the NIV with clarity, and the NLT with accessibility. Together, they give me a fuller picture without losing the depth I value. Closing thought. So I'm not saying one Bible is wrong and another is right. I'm saying you've got to be careful because some translations modernize the text for readability, and in some cases that can take away from the richness of the original. The important thing is to make sure the Bible you are using is the one that speaks to you and helps you hear God's voice clearly. That is why I use these 3 versions, because they remind me that God's word is living and active, and the translation you choose shapes how you hear it.
And so it don't matter what Bible translation you use. Just be sure it speaks to you and helps you get closer to the Lord in ways you want it to help you in your studies. God bless. Love you all. Good night. No matter which one you use.